So UFC Vancouver is officially in the books, and Brendan Allen just picked up the biggest victory of his career after he completely broke Reinier De Ridder in the main event. We got some things to discuss in this video, man, and mainly I want to talk about what the heck just went on in the main event between RDR and Brendan Allen. And listen, I thought that this card was one of those cards, one of those fight nights where it's like you feel like you know how a lot of these fights are going to play out, and then they just don't play out the way that you were quite expecting them, at least for me, man. So I thought that this was a pretty interesting card and very entertaining from top to bottom. But let's hop right into it, man, with the main event between Reinier De Ridder and Brendan Allen. First of all, Brendan Allen is Mr. Underrated of the middleweight division. He steps in here on short notice and goes out here and completely punks Reinier De Ridder after round one. Let's call it what it was, man. RDR, he flat out quit on the stool. He absolutely did. And I would love to hear from Reinier De Ridder about what the hell went on in the main event of this fight, man. You had a full camp to prepare here. You were expecting to step in there with Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, one of the true juggernauts in the middleweight division. And you go out there and you basically gas and have nothing left after round one? Could you imagine if that was Fluffy Hernandez in there last night? He would have finished RDR probably in round 2 or 3, man. And I don't ever want to hear anything again about RDR versus Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev would completely destroy Reinier De Ridder. He would mop the floor with him. RDR would be fighting off of his back the whole time, getting drug around on the octagon. Khamzat would be using him as a mop across the canvas. That was absolutely horrendous and embarrassing from RDR last night. Let's call it what it was, man. Let's not mess around here. I had very, very high expectations for Reinier De Ridder, right? He comes over from ONE FC. The debut, like I've said time and time again, it was a disaster against Gerald Meerschaert. Goes on a hot streak, folds Bo Nickel, goes out there, gets a close win over Robert Whittaker. But whenever you beat Robert Whittaker, like that's basically the statement that you need to be like, listen, man, I'm here to hang in the top of the middleweight division, dog. But stylistically, Brendan Allen was a different matchup than Robert Whittaker. We knew that coming in. This was a guy in Brendan Allen that was going to be able to push the pace when it comes to the grappling. He was going to be able to match Reinier De Ridder in a lot of aspects of the ground game. However, I felt like RDR was just a better grappler. That's why I picked him to win. But at the end of the day, Brendan Allen is clearly the better fighter. And all of that UFC experience, right? He's training with Belal Muhammad, right? Belal was doing a fantastic job in the corner, right? I was listening in between rounds. They were giving Brendan outstanding instructions. Brendan was listening, fighting to a T, man. Brendan Allen did exactly what he was going to say, and he broke Reinier De Ridder, man. He's like, he's going to break. I'm going to get to him. And if you go and you watch those 2 losses where Reinier De Ridder lost over in 1, look, I know he's in there against a big, strong, heavy hitter. I get all that, but people were questioning RDR in those losses. They're like, man, it looked like he kind of wilted in there. Was kind of almost looking for a way out, started to slow down and just faded off. It's exactly what happened in this fight, man. And what you're seeing with Reinier De Ridder is whenever he is the nail, there is no problem, or whenever he's the hammer, there's no problem. But the minute he becomes the nail and faces some sort of, pushback and, he's kind of now having to be like, oh man, I'm on the back foot here. I'm going to have to try to figure this out. We see a different fighter, man. That's the reality. But I wasn't expecting this from RDR, man. I know people were talking about that, what happened in one championship. But I'm like, look, that's a big, strong, heavy hitter, man. That's up a weight class or 2, right? Then he goes out there against Robert Whittaker, gets hit with a nasty right hand and gets dropped, and he comes back into the fight. So, how Bedtime MMA does those bingo cards and stuff? This wouldn't have been on my bingo card. Wouldn't have never even thought of this. Brendan Allen breaking Reinier De Ridder, dog? Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. I would love to hear from RDR what the hell happened, right? Did something go wrong? Was something wrong with him? Because to go in there, have a full camp and go in there against a short notice Brendan Allen, and it looked like Brendan Allen had the full camp. And how terrifying is that? Brendan Allen didn't even have a full camp, and he went out there and dominated this fight, man. Round 1, it was ugly. RDR was having his way. Got a very, very nice judo throw, got him to the ground, was ragdolling Brendan Allen around, was controlling him. But it's almost like Brendan Allen knew, yeah, come on, man. Go ahead. I'm not going to make any mistakes. Go ahead, burn yourself out. You're a big, strong guy. You cut a lot of weight. You've been active. Watch what happens when you're in here with a savvy veteran in this division when it comes to the ground game. I'm going to make you work. I'm going to make you tired. And we even saw in the Robert Whittaker fight, while RDR did win that fight and he looked pretty impressive against Robert Whittaker is a different style. He's mainly a striker. Does have, solid takedown defense and stuff. And RDR was stuck on the feet for most of the fight. But Brendan Allen presented a different challenge, right? He was going to be able to match RDR in those ground aspects. And we know that RDR's gas tank, it's been questionable. It absolutely has, man. And he was striking for a majority of the fight against Robert Whittaker. They were in the clinch. Brendan Allen turned it into a grit fest. He turned it into a dogfight. And I thought that RDR was a guy that could, thrive in those scenarios. We know Brendan Allen's a savage. We already know that. He's only been finished twice in his UFC career. Chris Curtis and Sean Strickland early. But since, this guy's been durable. He's been tough. And he's been in there with the best of the best in this weight class. And clearly, Brendan Allen's the better fighter, man. To go out there on how impressive of Brendan Allen, man. And I love the different call-outs, right? He's not going to get a title shot. Nassourdine Imavov 100% should be fighting Khamzat Chimaev for the belt next. I love Brendan Allen versus DDP. There's a little bit of animosity there that, they'll talk shit. I love that fight, man. I love that fight. And Brendan Allen stepping in here and doing what he did, he's absolutely earned that fight. 150%. Let's go ahead and book Brendan Allen versus Dricus du Plessis. And for RDR, I don't know what the hell's next for him, man. You go on a crazy win streak, and I know people are saying that, man. They're like, well, he's been active, he's cutting all this weight, and maybe he moves up to light heavyweight. I don't know. That was abysmal what he did last night. Now, again, you saw what he's capable of in round number 1, and I don't want to take the credit away from Brendan Allen because this is more about Brendan Allen, man. It's obviously shocking seeing RDR just flat out give up on the stool and do that, which is just, how can you get in there and prepare and be a fighter and all those things, and you go in there and that kind of stuff happens? It was very shocking to me, man. It's not very often that we see something like that. And the towel got thrown in, and have Robbie Lawler in your corner, ruthless Robbie Lawler in your corner, and you pull some stunt like that, man. Like I said, I'd love to hear from RDR on if there was something going on here. But at the end of the day, what we saw in the octagon last night, that's what we're judging. And Brendan Allen was clearly the better fighter. Completely dominated him, man. And it was very obvious to me that Brendan Allen and Bilal, his camp, they knew coming into this, look, we're going to make this guy work, man. We're going to drag this fight out. We're not just going to stand on the feet and let him kind of just hang on in the clinch and throw those knees and kind of relax and have these moments to where he can kind of rest. There was none of that. Brendan Allen was pushing the pace. He was forcing these grappling exchanges because you saw the confidence growing of Brendan Allen, man. He was kind of smiling when he stood up after getting off the stool, right? He's like, this guy's dog tired. The RDR was literally laying on the ground, and the referee's like, you got to get up, fighter. You got to get up, fighter. In his corner, and Robbie Lawler, they're coming in like trying to almost help him off the ground, and Jason Herzog's like, he's got to get up. And they almost had to stop the fight. I think it was, what was it, round 3 or whatever? Because he could barely get up, man. To be that dog tired or whatever the hell was going on, it was absolutely horrible from Reinier de Ridder, man. Horrible showing. Looked very, very dominant early on. Right now was looking like the RDR that we've seen. And then for Brendan Allen to go out there, turn this into a grit fest, a dog fight, and drown RDR as the fight played out, it was absolutely impressive for Brendan Allen, man. And I feel like we're going to see this, I don't want to say new version of Brendan Allen, but kind of, right? I feel like we're going to see this untapped potential that we saw in this match, man, to go out there and just go right after RDR after the first couple rounds, take his ass down and butcher him on the ground, beat him up, control him, and win the grappling exchanges. It was very, very impressive from Brendan Allen because we know RDR is good on the ground. He absolutely is, man. Good jiu-jitsu, very, very good judo as well. But we've seen him fade throughout fights, man. And one of the things that I probably should have considered coming into this as well is that Brendan Allen, if he could survive those onslaughts, because I picked RDR by decision, if he could force these grappling exchanges, have success there, and RDR kind of starts to fade, that's where Brendan Allen's going to be able to capitalize. Because Brendan Allen's a dog, we know that. Right? Coming off of that great fight against Marvin Vettori, I was just very shocked at what we saw from Reinier de Ridder, man. He's been a hammer for most of, basically all the time since he's been in the UFC for the most part. We've seen moments where he got dropped by Whittaker, dominated Bo Nickel. The GM3 fight, we saw some adversity. So that's why I was like not reading into what happened in those one fights, right? And I know a lot of people are pointing that out, especially this morning after all this happened. I wasn't expecting that from RDR. Like I said, I want to hear from him on what the hell went on, man. Was that just, you got to work on something with the cardio? Is it, I don't know, man. That was horrible. Absolutely horrible to go out there and not be able to get off the stool and to be laying on the ground like that after rounds was flat out embarrassing. That's the reality as it was, man. Absolutely embarrassing. But like I said, don't take anything away from Brendan Allen. This is more about Brendan Allen going out there and breaking a guy that has shown had all this aura, had all this hype, was on a crazy run. I mean, RDR was supposed to be fighting Fluffy Dog. And there was a conversation like if he could go out there and be Fluffy, man, he could possibly steal that title shot away from Nassourdine Imavov because stylistically, him versus Chimaev, all those things. But the reality was, I initially was like, look, RDR, those knees against Fluffy Hernandez, but I was coming to realization like Fluffy's going to be able to push a pace and get him out of there. That was kind of where I was leaning, and that was going to be my prediction, was actually picking Fluffy Hernandez. But the bottom line was Brendan Allen went out there and basically did what Fluffy Hernandez I could have seen doing. Very impressive stuff from Brendan Allen, man. To go out there and dominate RDR like that, Give Brendan Allen a big fight next. I think he's earned a fight stepping in here, on shorter notice, going out there being the fresher fighter. I mean, how crazy is that, man? To me, there's not much more embarrassing in the fight game than when you have a full camp, someone steps in on short notice, and they push the pace and have the better gas tank. RDR's got, I don't know, man, he's got some figuring out to do because that was a horrendous performance. To get broken like that in your main event opportunity here against Brendan Allen, that was supposed to be fluffy in there, dog. Could you imagine? All the credit to Brendan Allen, man. Went out there, fought a great fight, put the pace on him, controlled him on the ground, landed some nasty ground and pound. And even when RDR was on the ground, I know he was threatening with submissions, but Brendan Allen was, Daniel Cormier said it best. RDR was out there just kind of flow grappling, right? Looking for submissions, takedowns, throws, all those kinds of things. And Brendan Allen was doing MMA grappling, landing ground and pound, transitioning, just kind of flowing from position to position. It's almost like we just saw levels here pretty much. I know people are going to say, well, RDR just faded and all this and that. That's because of what Brendan Allen did. Put the pace on him, melted him. The minute RDR started to feel like, I'm not going to be able to get this guy out of there, I threw up some of my best submissions, and Brendan Allen's not going away, and he's keeping on coming. We just saw RDR fade, man, and it looked like he looked for a way out. That's the reality. That's what it looked like in there. Horrible showing from RDR. He lost a lot of steam coming off of this loss here. But like I said, all the credit to Brendan Allen. Massive win for Mr. Underrated in the middleweight division. Got to put some respect on Brendan Allen's name. He's underrated on the feet. I've been saying that. And on the ground, he's solid. Right, but I felt like RDR had the advantage. We saw that early, but it just came down to who wants it more. And turns out, we all know that Brendan Allen is not going to shy away from a dogfight. And the minute RDR, things started to get, tough and he was getting tired and these grappling exchanges were not going his way, we just saw the tide turn, and that is where Brendan Allen took advantage and went out there and dominated RDR, especially after a very impressive round one by De Ridder. Monster win for Brendan Allen, probably the biggest of his career. Main event spotlight here. Goes out there, melts RDR the way he did, a guy that was looking like he was going to be fighting for the title very soon. Massive win for Brendan Allen. Give him the DDP fight. I love it, man. Big win for Brendan. Kevin Holland, Mike Malott. I expected Mike Malott to win this fight. Obviously, we had some of the weird, controversy where, the low blows, and the one kind of looked like a low blow, but looked like it was kind of to, the midsection. I don't know what the hell went on there. And then it looked like Kevin Holland, right? He's one of those guys that he's so active. He's always in there, right? And outside of the Dolidze thing with the rib, it's like Kevin Holland, not really exactly the guy to kind of look for a way out, right? He's the guy that's in there looking to scrap, looking to throw down, and it seemed like a little bit like he was milking it, right? He was looking up at the clock. He was moving around. But at the end of the day, I don't know. He got hit in the nuts, right? So you never know really what's going on there. But at the end of the day, outside of those fouls and this and that, Holland was landing some decent shots early on. But really, this was about Mike Malott's, speed advantage. He was in there. He was landing some good shots, sticking and moving, cutting good angles. But one thing I will say about Mike Malott, his ground game is really good, man. I think his ground game, it can hold up against a lot of the guys in this weight class. But his striking on the feet, offensively, it's good. He's really bad defensively, man. He's very, very bad defensively. Does not move his head. Does not block shots very well. He's very, very hittable. We saw Holland landing some good shots on him, especially early. And then the whole low blow situation, the delay in there, it just kind of made for a weird kind of fight to where I thought it was going to get stopped. The doctor's like, can you continue, fighter? Can you continue? And right, I think Cormier pointed that out. When you ask a fighter, can you continue or not? Like, fighters are not going to be like, no, I can't, right? And so, you're kind of fighting their ego there. So at the end of the day, the fight goes on. Shout out to Holland for, staying in there and keeping it going. But Mike Malott was just the more technical fighter, man. He's faster. He's a guy that's, Holland's just kind of hung around, right? He gets these big fights and kind of loses them, right? He beats up on the older welterweights. But then when he fights the guys that are younger like a Malott, those are the fights that he tends to lose. But he had landed some good shots, did Kevin Holland, man. Right, and that's the thing about Mike Malott. Very good on the ground. Had some nice transitions, and Kevin Holland's been very good on the ground at welterweight, right? I know people clown on him in the middleweight division, but at welterweight, he's been pretty good on the ground. We saw him submit Vicente Luque. I know it's kind of the ghost of Luque, but he kind of survived, right? I know it was a questionable. Alvarez should have gotten the stoppage in round one, but still. So Holland's shown that he's a pretty decent guy in the welterweight division. So Mike Malott goes out there, rights the wrong after, the embarrassing loss to Neil Magny in round 3. Comes out here, co-main event in Vancouver, and gets the win. Shout out to Mike Malott, man. I thought that he was going to go in there and get this one done. He was fast on the feet, landing some good kicks, and on the ground, he had the advantage. Like I said, on the ground, Mike Malott can hang with a lot of guys in this weight class. Offensively, he's got good speed, pretty good offensive striking, but his defense is bad, man. It's bad. If he's in there against a guy like Prates, he's getting knocked the hell out. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So I feel like Mike Malott needs to lean into the ground game a little bit more. I feel like moving forward, as he starts to get into this ranked competition moving forward, I feel like that's going to be something that him and his team should really look to do, is explore the ground game, because he's very, very, very good on the ground, solid offensively with the striking, lots of holes on the feet, man. He does not move his head whatsoever. Big win for Mike Malott. Again, weird-ass fight with the low blows and stuff. Marlon Vera versus Amin Zahabi. I picked Chito Vera to win, right? And I said coming into this that I like both of these guys. Chito's one of my favorite bantamweights of all time. Amin Zahabi's a guy I really enjoy. He's been underrated for a while. And my fear was Chito's going to be a slow starter, right? Zahabi gets ahead on the scorecards. I thought it was a robbery, man, right? But at the same time, it's like close fights to me. Again, I got to check myself. They're not really robberies, right? If they're close fights, not necessarily robberies. However, I did score this for Marlon Vera. I thought it was a split decision victory for Marlon Vera. I gave him, rounds 2 and 3, right? Round 1 was Zahabi. He was active. He was busy. And Chito Vera came out and actually matched the energy pretty well. We saw that in the Figueiredo fight, right? And it's been a while since we saw Vera. Had some injuries, some hiccups. Finally gets in there and he was, matching the energy of Zahabi. But Zahabi was still ahead. Round 2, Chito drops him. But then Zahabi poured it on strong in round 2, right? And then round 3 was close, man. It was close. But I just thought Chito Vera was digging to the body, was landing those kicks. Thought he was landing some nice, significant shots in there, man. So I thought that he was slightly ahead, but it was really close. Either way, so I'm not really going to say a robbery. It was a close fight. I could have seen it going either way. I thought that, Chito Vera did enough to get it done. But Amin Zahabi, man, this guy's a dog, man. Got hurt again. Remember in the Aldo fight, got hurt bad? Got hurt bad in this fight. I don't think it was as bad as the Aldo fight. But Amin Zahabi, man, this guy's got that weird style. He's kind of shoulder rolling and bobbing. It's like a Strickland, but a chaotic Strickland. He's got the Philly shell, kind of moseying forward, throwing a bunch of kicks. He's got volume. He's got a little bit of sting on his shots. And Amin Zahabi, he's a dog, man, an absolute dog, right? With Fiorot in his corner, right? They just, you knew that they were going to come in here and know that Chito Vera, the way to get to this guy is you could take him down and hold him, right, and control him. And, Chito struggles off of his back and he doesn't, do the best job of getting up, spends too much time on the floor. But Amin Zahabi's not really that kind of fighter. So it was going to be, we got to put points on the board. Stay ahead, score. Don't look for all the three-pointers, man. Let's just get the layups. Let's get the ball to the inside. Let's just start racking up these points. And that was their game plan. And they came out. He was throwing kicks to the leg, kicks to the body. It was a diverse attack from Amin Zahabi, a little bit more dynamic than what we normally see. He's kind of more boxing-oriented. We see some kicks here and there. But I feel like that was kind of the difference, man, was he was winning the moments. And especially towards the end of the rounds, you just saw Amin Zahabi, there were better visuals, right? And I feel like that's kind of what the judges saw too. You see Chito on the back foot covering up, right? Not really looking to dig in and counter, where Zahabi's just peppering him and going crazy, landing these shots. So I feel like the visuals, they hurt Marlon Vera in these close fights, man. But again, Chito came out aggressive, right? So he gave himself a chance to win this fight. But at the end of the day, I thought it was a close fight. I thought Chito did win, but it was a close fight, man. So Amin Zahabi getting another big win, man. Going out there, the come from behind against Jose Aldo. Again, that was a close one. Gets a name again in Marlon Vera and adds another name to his resume in the bantamweight division. Called out Sean O'Malley. I kind of like that fight. I don't know, rattling off, an Aldo win, a Chito win. Like, I like that stylistically. I think it's a fun fight, striker on striker. But I feel like Sean O'Malley's going to get a bigger name towards the top of the division. That's just kind of, I feel like the way the UFC is going to look to go. But I like that matchup, man. Striker on striker. Zahabi's earned a big opportunity. He's on a crazy win streak. Close fight. Again, not really a robbery. Thought Chito won, but it was close. I couldn't have seen it going either way, given that Zahabi was putting the points on the board and winning kind of the visual game, man. Shout out to Zahabi. Always balling out these days, man. Martin Fiorot versus Jasmine Jasdavicius. What a dumb pick by me to pick Jasmine Jasdavicius, dude. I've been saying for the longest time about Martin Fiorot, and even said in the breakdown, I'm like, Fiorot's a better fighter. She's better on the feet. Brick wall, takedown defense. Going to be hard to take down. I jinx these fights, man. I'm like, what am I doing? I tell you why you should pick a certain fighter and I pick the other fighter. I don't know, man. I didn't do very good on this card. And this was one of those fights where I'm like, dog, what were you doing? And it looked like Jasdavicius was doing good. Landing some decent shots on the feet, kind of hanging with Martin Fiorot. But it turns out Manon was just setting her up. She was just setting her up, making Jasmine think she could stand on the feet with her, kind of throwing these shots out there like, oh, I can't land. And then the minute Jasmine stepped into range, boom, stung her with a left hand, knocked her out. Great performance by Manon Fiorot. I'd like to see her fight the winner of probably Valentina versus Zhang Weili. She's a super fun fighter to watch. Good striking, good power, good precision. One of the better strikers that we've seen in women's MMA for sure. Her timing, her rhythm, her footwork, and her power. right? To go out there and get a stoppage. It's been a little while since we've seen a Manon Fiorot stoppage, especially against, some of the better competition in the weight class. I know she lost to Valentina, but I felt like Jasmine had the ground game, right? If Valentina's taken her down, I know that Valentina, she's shown that her grappling is very good, but she was more of a striker, right? That just shows how good of the ground game, how good Valentina's ground game has gotten, man, because I thought that Jasmine had a better ground game at this point. She's been finishing a lot of people, good on the ground. And I know that this was a big step up in competition, but still, I thought that there was opportunity for her to kind of take this fight to the floor. So at the end of the day, Manon Fiorot, she showed levels, man. She was way better on the feet, and she faked out Jasmine Jasdavicius, was setting traps, making her think that she was safe. And then as soon as she stepped in the range, Fiorot was kind of missing with shots. It was a perfect setup, man. She was playing chess while Jasmine was playing checkers. Outstanding setup. Nice knockout by Manon Fiorot, one of the more exciting fighters to watch. Both of these women, very exciting to watch in WMMA. Charles Jourdain, Davy Grant. I got this one right. I picked Charles Jourdain to win this fight. I think I said by decision, but I expected Charles Jourdain to have the advantages that he had, which was the power advantage and speed, right? He's coming down to the bantamweight division, but what we've seen about Charles is, he's basically been 500 in the UFC, but he's fought some decent opposition, right? I rattled off some of the losses, right? You're losing to a Jean Silva. You're not losing to just Joe Schmo. Right, he's out there beating some really, really good guys, man. He's got nasty submission skills, man, right? And you saw that in this fight, the way he was able to sting Davy Grant with the flying knee. And I was surprised to see a savvy, crafty veteran and Davy Grant get caught by that, because that's Charles Jourdain's best shot, right? And Davy Grant, his last 5 fights, he lost one of them, and it was a split decision. I mean, he could arguably be on a crazy win streak right now. He's been in there with these young prospects, these super game guys, and he's been Mr. Underdog. He's been an underdog in like all of them, right? And he's kind of been that guy that you can rely on as an underdog with your pick. But I went against him here because I figured Charles Jourdain, he has the ground skills to cause some problems. And on the feet, Davy Grant's busier. But that's hard to get away with against a power hitter and a dynamic, flashy, dangerous guy in Charles Jourdain. That's why I figured the Davy Grant kind of underdog story was going to come to a halt here. I still love Davy Grant, man. It's impossible not to like Davy Grant. I'm a big fan of his. He's fun to watch, always game, super cool guy. But at the end of the day, I figured that this was going to be a fight where Charles Jourdain was going to pass the Davy Grant test. I'd like to see Charles Jourdain get a back-end ranked guy, man. He's super skilled. His brother just got a big win on the Contender Series. He's fun to watch, man. So is his brother. I think his brother's actually probably better, but Charles Jourdain is super good, man. Love watching him fight. Nasty flying knee, powerful striking, super fast. A guy coming down in weight. We usually see the lighter guy have a little bit of a technicality and speed advantage. Like I said, not going to be the case here. Charles Jourdain is a very fast guy at featherweight, and down at bantamweight, that speed definitely translates just fine, and he's got a nice power advantage backed by a dangerous ground game. Massive win for Charles Jourdain, man. Very impressive. Kyle Nelson versus Matt Frevola. This fight, it should have been a first round, or I think it was the first round, right? Where Kyle Nelson, Dan Mergliata steps in. There's 3 seconds left or whatever. It should have been a stoppage victory for Kyle Nelson. But Kyle Nelson looked like who does he look? Eddie Wineland or Vince Pichel or something, with the bald head, the mustache. Kyle Nelson looked good, man. Prove me wrong. I thought Matt Frevola was the more established 55er. When we talk about guys coming up to a weight class, we normally see some sort of advantage with the speed, the technicalities, but Kyle Nelson, nothing really wows you about him. But in this fight, he dominated Frevola everywhere. Was better on the feet, was faster, banging him up on the feet, dominating him on the ground. Frevola's a big, strong guy in this weight class, man. He's a veteran. He's been around for a while. Kyle Nelson made this thing look pretty easy, man. I was actually pretty impressed with Kyle Nelson. I thought that Matt Frevola would be able to get this one done, considering he's a big, strong guy, moves decent for a lightweight. Thought it would be a little bit too much for Nelson in this weight class. Kyle went out there and made that look pretty easy, man. Kyle Prepolek, Drew Dober. Again, Drew Dober fights, man, they're always super fun to watch. Kyle Prepolek was doing better than kind of what I figured coming into this fight. I know that he got, stepped in there on a tough test against Benoit Saint-Denis, but coming into this, every opportunity that Kyle had in the UFC, he lost, right? He was, I think, 0-3 in the UFC, right? Had a stint, then, was no longer in the UFC, came back short notice against Saint-Denis, and it was landed some decent shots on the feet, but I feel like that was Benoit. I know Benoit's got bad defense, put himself in harm's way, had no respect for anything Prepolek was going to do. And in this fight, the big worry was Drew Dober's chin, right? We've seen that the durability is kind of went, still has the power. Drew Dober getting the knockout. I get all the, the little controversy drama in this. At the end of the day, Drew Dober, he's a super likable guy, always in a fun fight. Big win for Drew Dober after dropping a couple in a row. That was a big win for Mr. Dober. Cody Gibson versus Aricha Lang. Cody Gibson sucks, man. Just cut him from the roster. Look, it was a nice performance by a Rich Lang, going out there, getting the starch and KO. It was very, very impressive. Prove me wrong. I thought Cody Gibson would look to get the fight to the floor, not just stand with him. I don't know what the hell Cody Gibson was doing. He looked awful in this fight. And Rick Lang, he had the timing and the distance down to a T, knocked his ass out and made him pay. That was a nasty KO, man. Bruno Silva, Hyun Sung Park. Bruno Silva going out there and being the dog that he is, man. Goes out there and shows levels. Showed that Hyun Sung Park, as good of a prospect as he is, I kind of gave, Park a little bit of a pass, right? He was supposed to fight Urseg, right? And then he got moved up to fight Tatsuro Taira. And, okay, so you get dominated by Taira. Taira's one of the better fighters in the weight class. He's elite in the flyweight division. Just shows that as skilled as Hyun Sung Park is on the feet, he's got an underrated ground game. There were levels, man. Bruno Silva's a dog. He's got decent striking. I feel like Park would have been a little bit better there, right? And we saw the moments, right? He was kind of showing that in the third round. But it was really the veteran savviness of Bruno Silva, the grappling, mixing things up, keeping him guessing, scrambled the brain of Park. Very impressive performance by Bruno Silva and a much-needed win. Next, we got Danny Barlow to Jordan Santos. I mean, come on, Danny Barlow. Coming up from welterweight, going out there and losing to a super unskilled to Jordan Santos. I just don't think Santos is skilled, man. Happy for Santos because on the Contender Series, he won a decision, but it was a crazy fight. Goes out there and loses to Ozzy Diaz. I picked Ozzy Diaz to win that fight. He was an underdog. Right? And I'm like, Danny Barlow, I feel like he's better than Ozzy Diaz. Danny Barlow, looked pretty good early on, right? But then with Santos, he just keeps going. And that's what I said in my breakdown. I'm like, I'm going Barlow, but I worry, right? Because he's coming up, right? He's going to have, some speed, some power. But if he if he can't get Santos out of there and this thing hangs around, Santos can kind of hit that zombie mode and turn it up and kind of, put it on him. And that's kind of what we saw on this matchup. That was a big win for Santos, disappointed in Danny Barlow. Stephanie Luciano, I got the WMMA fights right, man, minus the unknown Fiorot fight, but I got this one right. I figured Stephanie Luciano, she seems like a promising prospect. Sharp on the feet, good movement, solid ground game, getting the submission here over Oliveira, who's shown to be dangerous on the feet, right? Throws caution to the wind, throws big power, right? It's shown to be pretty good. It hasn't looked pretty good in the UFC in terms of, I don't think she's gotten a win in the UFC, but Luciano, she's good, man. She's good. She's got a good ground game, stings on the feet, good footwork, good lateral movement. I was impressed by Stephanie Luciano. I expected her to get that one done. Azamat Bakoyev, Yousri Belgaroui. I couldn't wait to talk about this one, man, because I picked Azamat Bakoyev, but like I said, I was rooting for Yousri, man. I've been a fan of Yousri Belgaroui for a long time. I'm a big Glory kickboxing guy. Love watching, right, when Pineda was over there, Izzy, Dustin Jacoby, right, Rico Verhoeven. Right, I just love watching Glory, man. I love watching, Artem Vahitov, right? He was on the Contender Series. I was hoping he was going to be in the UFC. One of the guys that he's been training with Poatan, had the rivalry with him, is Yousri Belgaroui. But the problem I had for Yousri in this fight was I thought that he would be the better striker. I'm not surprised that he went out there and banged Azamat Bakoyev's ass up. What I am surprised about is how good the takedown defense was, because we saw on the Contender Series the first time around, Marco Tullio's a good prospect. He's a super game guy, but he's known for his striking, not so much his ground game. And Yousri had a lot of problems on the ground. And I'm like, look, Azamat Bakoyev's a good wrestler, man. He's good on the ground, right? And on the feet, he's got big power. So I figured he would throw the big power shots, look to level change, get in on the hips, because Yousri's this big, tall guy. It's easy to get in on him. That's what we've seen. Belgaroui banged his ass up, man. He dominated him. The footwork, the movement. I mean, there's no question that Yousri's the better striker. There was no question about that. It's the fact of when you introduce the element of the takedown, a solid ground and pound guy with good submission skills, a well-rounded ground game in Bakoyev. He had nothing for Yousri in this fight, man. That was my question marks, and now I feel comfortable picking Yousri moving forward in a lot of fights, man, because this guy on the feet, he's going to be able to do just fine against basically everybody in this weight class, man. He's very, very good on the feet, good straight punches, very, very technical. I love a good technician on the feet, man. That's Yousri Belgaroui. The calf kicks were nasty, absolutely destroyed Bakoyev. This fight wasn't even close, man. Made it look so easy, and then getting the finish in round number 3, I was completely impressed with Yousri Belgaroui, man. Fought way better than what I expected. I expected Belgaroui to eventually get on track in the UFC and start to rattle up some victories. I just felt like this was a little bit too much too soon, given Bakoyev did have the ground game, the power to where he could keep them guessing. And we see when that happens, it kind of freezes these strikers, right? But at the end of the day, Yousri was ready for the challenge, man. Training with Poatan, he was very, very prepared. Excellent calf kicks, the rangy weapons, the knees. He was banging Bakoyev's ass up. And how about Azamat Bakoyev with the ooga booga, right? Throwing the big old power shots, no technique. You can't hope and pray throwing these big power shots against a tactician and a super rangy guy in this weight class with a frame that's going to give a lot of people problems. Amazing performance by Yousri Belgaroui. I was rooting for him to get this one done. I was hoping he was going to prove me wrong. Thought it was a long shot. Turns out I was dead wrong, man. He absolutely dominated this fight. And most impressively, his takedown defense was outstanding, man. Bakoyev, to me, should have had a grapple-heavy game plan early. Shouldn't have been like, oh, well, if things don't work out on the feet, then I'm going to panic takedown or panic shoot. That ain't going to work against Belgaroui. Yousri banged his ass up. Amazing win. Melissa Croden, Tayanara Lisboa. I picked Croden to get this one done, and she went out there and balled out, man. In Canada, UFC debut, Lisboa got the Muay Thai background, but like I said, we saw it in flashes in this fight. Croden's gritty, man. Lost a 5-rounder to Jacqueline Calvacanti, but we've seen she had that dog in her. She's tough. She's durable. She will win a grit fest. While Lisboa might be more technical, I just felt like this was going to come down to the grit and the heart, and I counted on Melissa to get it done in this matchup. Thought it would be a decision for her to get a finish. That was very impressive over not a particularly great fighter in Lisboa, but still a well-rounded fighter with solid striking on the feet. Big debut win for Melissa Croden. But if you guys enjoyed this video, do me a favor, give it a like. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new, man. Cannot believe from what we saw from RDR in the main event, man. That was horrendous. And shout out to Brendan Allen getting the biggest win of his career. He is Mr. Underrated in the middleweight division.